they're more in the like entrepreneurial, getting people inside of their business than they are in actually the creating and maintaining of art.
Yeah, so the Trolls movies with Justin Timberlake and friends. So Regal is. Did you? I didn't see. You know what? I saw parts of Trolls, the first one. I did not watch the whole thing.
You didn't see it in the movie theater?
No, definitely did not see Trolls in a movie theater.
Yeah, then I didn't either.
Yeah.
I thought I had seen it with like you guys or something.
No, that's the only time you probably would have seen that was going with us to see Trolls, but no, we didn't.
Well, I mean, I don't know. Luke and I were hanging out and we're like,
let's go see Trolls. We gotta see Trolls, man.
Let's go see Trolls. We just became Bob Dylan.
Hey, gotta see the Trolls.
Let's see they're playing music this time around.
Right. So with everything happening with Corona and everything shut down, one of the big places that is shut down is movie theaters, obviously, because you're in a room with a bunch of people that are coughing and sneezing and touching their face and who knows what in the movie theater, because that's what happens in the dark. You never know what's happening.
Yeah, Pee-wee, give Pee-wee another chance.
All right, so we're not blaming Pee-wee for this one. Maybe next week. But so Regal has come out and they refuse to play Universal movies amid the Trolls World Tour dispute. Now, this is a really interesting story to me. And I thought it was really strange when I saw this. So what happened with everything going on? The movie theaters are shut down, and that the Universal decided that they're going to release. We've talked about this before. The concurrent release in theaters and online, doing it. And I'm like, I don't see why that makes sense. You're losing out on box office money, but maybe you're making more money because not as many people are going to the box office. But right now you literally can't. You literally can't go to the box office.
Well, so that's why they did it. Is they did it preemptively in order to be able to like counter that curve that they're going to face with box office, right?
Yes.
Box office isn't what they're wanting. They always put that number in front of the total domestic growth or the total national or world growth or whatever of a certain movie.
Yeah.
But that's just because it's almost like a regal, elegant thing to say before the massive number that you've accrued.
It's like getting an award. It's like hanging an award. Yeah.
Right. This is our box office numbers. All money ends up in the same person's pocket at the end of the day. They don't care where it's coming from.
Right.
You know?
Well, so but the movie theaters care.
Well, yeah, the movie theaters care, and that's what the story is about. It's a feud, man. What it is it's the actual studios that are making these movies saying, look, we need to make money off of these, even though our movie theater, our partners in movie theaters aren't open right now, particularly like AMC or Cineworld or all these IMAX, all these huge movie theaters.
Oh yeah,
they're like, we still got to make money, and you're not an outlet for us at this point. But you know what it is? Amazon, Netflix, Hulu, things like that, right?
Yep.
So they have to. They're given no other option. But then the actual like AMC and the Cineworld, all those giant corporations that own movie theaters are saying that this is a disrespectful move from the movie industry.
Yeah, so right here, the very opening part, Cineworld, who's the owner of Regal Entertainment, is joining AMC theaters in refusing to play some Universal picture films in the wake of the NBC Universal CEO Jeff Shell's promise to open titles on premium video on demand and in theaters concurrently instead of waiting, because typically they wait 90 days before they release it video on demand. But that trend has been moving forward, because like with the Netflix, The Irishman was concurrent. It wasn't a 90-day thing, but it was also a Netflix film. So it was not typically going to be in theater. So there's that.
Right.
But the comment here that says Universal's
Marriage Story.
Yeah, same thing. So Universal's move is completely inappropriate and certainly has nothing to do with good faith business practices, partnership, and transparency, Cineworld says. So what do you see on this, Jake? Like you're the film buff guy. I mean, Chris, you are too. I say that, but
film buff guy, yeah. I like to watch. I pick up the DVDs and I put them down again. I pick them up and I put them down and I get pumped. I love the stories. I love good characters. The watch get too light, strong. Yeah.
So Jake, what do you see? You made a face when I was reading that comment from Cineworld.
Yeah, well, just because Cineworld is somebody that is in. I mean, the way I look at it is, yes, they have to deal with movies, but they're more in the real estate game than the actual movie game.
Yeah.
You know,
Right.
they're more in the like entrepreneurial, getting people inside of their business than they are in actually the creating and maintaining of art. And honestly, in the way that I would look at it, Universal is not a small company by any means.
No.
Like, they have a ton of money, but right now
NBC Universal,
they
have their own streaming platform now and their connection to all this other stuff. So I mean, it's a business model. Yeah,
it is a business model. It's massive, but like these creators got to watch out for the creators, man. If you create something and you dump money into it and you're looking for an equal yield or a profitable one, you cannot take your chances with this thing right now and try to put it into the laps of people that would be consumers and go watch it in public.
Yeah.
You know right now that people are watching it at home, and that's what you got to aim for. So I don't think Cineworld should be looking at this as a disrespectful, non-partner like move in this weird time. Like, they should be more graceful. Well, I guess I don't know.
So the thing here, Daniel says, and he makes a good point, large theaters are doomed and they know it. And I think that was true before this pandemic hit. Like, large theaters were in trouble because people could get it on demand. Like, that's the whole point of it. Now,
I still don't know if I fully get behind that.
I agree, but I think the scale is going to have to change. Either the prices are going to have to go up to maintain the real estate, like you said.
And the experience has to become grander.
Yeah, exactly. Now, the other thing I will say in this, I think it's contractual. I think there's a contractual thing where NBC Universal maybe jumped the gun because they have a contract with Cineworld and AMC that says we won't do it before the 90 days, but they're in a situation where they're going ahead and just pulling the trigger. So I think there's probably a contractual thing. But the one thing that I think is really
makes sense.
Yeah, but the one thing I think is really weird about this, and from a business standpoint, if I just put on my business hat for Cineworld, and I'm like, you're taking a stand that seems very political on something that business-wise you're going to lose out on a lot. Because right here it says if AMC and Cineworld follow through with this, they will potentially forego showing a number of potential Universal hits, such as F9, the latest Fast and Furious, due out April 2nd, 2021. Minions, Rise of Gru, opening July 2nd. That's going to be a huge one.
Right.
Sing 2, so they're doing a second Sing at December 22nd. And another Jurassic World movie scheduled to launch in June of 2021. Those are some huge movies, and that's some big money that they're going to potentially be in, saying, like, we're going to take a stand that you can't do video on demand because of whatever reason, and they're foregoing the money that they would get for these. Because I don't necessarily think that the people that are like, I'm going to do video on demand instead of a theater are going to be the people that go to the theater anyways. They just probably wait the 90 days.
Well, I mean,
for sure.
Do you think it could be? I mean, I feel like they should have a stipend in their contract due to everything else. It's like, well, hey, you know, we can't go through our regular channels in the theaters, but that's not their fault or our fault, whatever. Like Jake said, we got to maintain the creativity going, and the only way we do that is to send it to people's homes. But maybe the theaters should get a piece of that contractually, because they were intended to get certain revenue by, you know, everything going. But I mean,
and that is the solution. That is the solution that you work towards, is realizing that is renegotiating. Because right now there is a moment where our current contract does not benefit either of us in its full form. How do we renegotiate to get the same benefit on both sides? And that's what the movie industry comes down to in a lot of instances. But when I see these specific names, all of which being set to release in 2021, it makes me think that Cineworld has a contract with Universal for F9, Trolls World Tour, for those movies to be screened in their theaters. Universal probably also has a contract for other movies with other theater owners or theater operators in order to be able to make money off those.
Right. And from a standpoint of how that works is the theaters have to pay for the rights to run the movie. So they've put out money, and in this scenario, they've probably put out quite a bit of money for the Trolls World Tour that they're now going to miss out on making their money back. So in a perfect world, right, they would be able to negotiate this and say, okay, NBC Universal says, hey, you know what, we're going to refund you X amount of dollars for Trolls World Tour, and then we're going to continue forward with our other contracts, but we need an adjustment because we're going to actually play it sooner than the 90 days that we promised. So, but I think this all comes down to money. It all comes down to dollars and running a business, and it's going to have to at some level be negotiated. Ken says, Ken's watching. You jumped over to Twitter, my friend. I love that. He's watching on Twitter. He says, I prefer movies.
They're booming right now.
I know. Twitter.
Yeah.
Hey, you know what? That's probably what happened. Ken just went over to Twitter, and then Twitter all of a sudden they hit a higher level than they've ever hit before. So, Ken, way to go.
That kind of brings the question though: is like, would you pay more for your current Netflix, Disney Plus, or like that if they started to say, hey, no, actually, we're going to release our big movies concurrently on our streaming devices? Like, Black Widow is supposed to come out soon. Would you think that would be worthwhile to, instead of paying $6.99 a month, to pay $9.99 a month or whatever in order to get those titles coming right to your TV when they released? Right.
Well, and I think that's another interesting thing is, again, it's temporary. So maybe why not just push the openings of some of these movies? But then we don't know back end what's happening and financially where they're at and what actually needs to happen contractually. So there's so many moving parts to this. But I just think it's really weird that two theater chains is considering foregoing a huge amount of revenue on these big movies that are coming out in the next year. That
did they have a choice though?
That's what they're saying. They're saying they will potentially forego showing a number of movies. They won't buy into them, which means
as in like after this whole thing is over. That's all speculative though.
It is all speculative.
That's all like making a number like
AMC and Cineworld are saying they may potentially forego because of Trolls World Tour. That's what they're saying.
Right. No. Right. I understand that. But what I'm saying is that's still largely speculative on the fact that movie theaters will be open by the time that these other releases are going to be out.
Oh, that's a good point. They may not. They say they haven't been open. That's a good point. Yeah.
So point. They're going to void the contract if you can't open your movie theater, and they're still going to show it on streaming anyway. They're going to be like, well, screw this. Like, there's no way we can win. But then they have a fighting chance if movie theaters are back open and these things haven't come out yet. And they can say, okay, let's renegotiate this, or just as a ploy, or as a as a penalty, to Universal saying, no, we will not take these movies anymore.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep. I agree. And I just think it's weird. And I think it's gonna be interesting when the movie industry does open back up. Like how many people go to the theater? Because I mean, if you're social distancing in a theater,
I'm going to go every day.
I know you're going to go every day, and I think the majority of Californians that went to the beach would probably go to the movie theater. So I don't think that's an issue. But we have to blame somebody for Trolls World Tour.
Absolutely.
And I think we're back to the top. So Jake, you get a chance right now. You get to say who is to blame for the NBC Universal versus Regal and AMC theaters Troll World Tour debacle. Who's to blame? Is it Kanye, Megxit, or Mr. Bean, Jake?
I think it's Mr. Bean for my same reason as the last one.
What's your same? Say it again.
Everybody's Cineworld is just waiting for a new Mr. Bean movie. That's the only one they're going to get.
It's all related to the Mr. Bean franchise. We're clamoring for more.
Yeah, but I do have to say, with this Trolls World Tour movie, buy it, watch it, and the reason why is because in the soundtrack, somebody that I went to middle school with, very, very like distantly related friends. I mean, we were friends for a while, haven't talked in years, but she was in theater and stuff like that. Her name's Madeline Reynolds. She actually has one of the songs on the soundtrack for it.
What?
Oh, cool.
That's super cool. Really cool. You know what?
Yeah. I kind of wanted to watch it anyways, just because it's all about the battle of different kinds of music and how like metal is trying to take over everything, which is like real life.
But Chris, you know pop wins. You know pop wins in the end.
No, it doesn't.
Oh, it does.
I mean, in this movie it will. In this movie,
pop wins in the end.
But if you listen to any Tenacious D record ever, and then you have the metal, and the metal always prevails.
That's right.
Grunge once tried to kill the metal.
That's right.
But the metal was in the way.
Wait, so are you blaming Jack Black or are you blaming Mr. Bean? Mr. Bean. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah,
Mr. Bean. All right, Chris, who's to blame? Is it Kanye, Megxit, or Mr. Bean?
I think I'm gonna go with Jake. I think Mr. Bean is behind it.
Really?
He's to blame because he hasn't seen. He's actually with the streamers though, because he hasn't seen residuals coming from the theaters themselves for his spectacular debut as not only Johnny English and Mr. Bean, but I think they wanted to revamp Black Adder, which is a fantastic show he was in back in like the 80s or whatever.
Okay.
And so I think he's like, hey, streaming's where it's at, and we need to make sure all my future films with Mr. Bean, all my other characters, because he's super like. Regal now. Now he's in line with Brexit and everything, or Megxit. intertwined.
Because they're aligned. Yeah.
They're aligned, and he's got to live up now to his status. And so I think he's trying to create more of a wedge between the theaters and the streaming services.
He's creating a wedge between the streaming services and the movie theaters. You know what? I could get behind that. But it's my turn, and I'm gonna have to blame Megxit. I think that Megxit is the problem, and I think it comes
this close to a clean sweep.
We were that close, and I couldn't give a clean sweep to Mr. Bean because the issue that I have here is all the trolls, and there are so many more bridges in Britain then there's trolls under those bridges, and so therefore they're siding with the trolls to say, here's the deal, we're going to be with you on Twitter, and we're going to take down the AMC Cineworld conglomerate of movie theaters and take over the internet, which really is going towards their world domination. I think that's what's happening.
Which is very rich in the English blood.
Yes.
They're all about world domination, and all the movies with world dominators usually have an English accent.
I think that's true. Yes, and most villains are British anyways.
Right.
I think that's just how it works. That's how it works. Thanks for checking out the Trending Stories Taking Over show. If you like that video, make sure to hit subscribe and the notification bell so you know whenever we have a new video, and you're aware of any of the live streams when we do a full show. You can subscribe to the podcast on iTunes, on Spotify, anywhere that you listen to podcasts. Go to TSTOshow.com, check it out, or watch one of these other videos over here. You're gonna like it. I have a feeling you're gonna love it.